Hello, guys, and welcome back to the local SCP researchers. I am researcher Dr. Church,
And Dr. Ireland.
and today we will be focusing on SCP 1529, also known as the King of the Mountain. You guys should know how this works by now. We read all this, then we discuss it, this one actually is going to be interesting based on this picture that I have of him right here. It's pretty dang creepy. So let's get into this, shall we? Oh, and this is a Euclid class anomaly.
So a little higher. Right?
I was like, do you not know how the containment classes work?
Would you like to go through them?
We might as well do this for our audience at home as well. So there are 4 classifications of containment. There is safe. And this is all based on the box test. So if you take the box and you leave it, it isn't going to do anything. Most likely isn't going to do anything. That's safe. Euclid means that if you leave the box alone, it's unknown what's going to happen because it's unpredictable. Keter means it's most likely to break out of the box. And Thaumiel is the box. It's literally an anomaly that contains other anomalies.
Would there be a 5th one or no? Is there a 5th one?
I mean, there's a tons of other sub ones that are it's like exclusive to, oh yeah, no.
Is there one like, oh yeah, you're fucked?
No. There is one, I think there's explained, and I think there's only actually one physical anomaly that actually shares that, and it's one of the it's SCP-001-XE, which is, it's a Foundation created basically, it was designed to better contain SCPs by feeding a humongous algorithmic computer containment procedures in order to better contain the anomalies or neutralize them. Unfortunately, it got a little carried away with the neutralization part to pretty much where no anomalies existed anymore.
Let's just hope this is one of our stories.
Unfortunately, it is not in any of these, but it will most likely be once we get through all of that, which is going to be a while.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to 1529, also known as the Mountain King, Class Euclid. Special Containment Procedures. SCP-1529's native environment is to be kept under telescopic and satellite surveillance whenever weather and daylight permit. Year-round telescopic surveillance is to be conducted from the Foundation's permanent monitoring stations in Redacted, Nepal, and Redacted. People's Republic of China. That's a sentence, I guess. I don't know what this means. Anyway. Oh, no. And blank, People's Republic of China. I didn't read that right. Anyway, as early in the year as weather permits, a Foundation front company, South Chromolungma Portage, shall establish forward monitoring stations at the base of camp on the northern and southern ascents, and at the higher camps as weather permits, with the exception of Camp 6 on the northern ascent and Camp 4 on the southern, to be maintained until weather conditions force the evacuation of the mountain for the season. When SCP-1529 is active, telescopic surveillance will be conducted by means of an automatic telescope with video feed playing at 7 seconds delay to avoid a repeat incident of 1529-2. When necessary and safe, surveillance shall be conducted by airplane or helicopter. The Foundation shall liaise with civilian expedition coordinators as necessary to prevent attempts on the summit when SCP-1529 is active. The bodies of any hikers who encounter SCP-1529 are to be removed from the mountain as soon as possible in a full autopsy and disposal. All 1529 related casualties shall be attributed to natural causes relating to altitude sickness and hypothermia. Any survivors and or witnesses are to be debriefed and administered a Class B amnestic. Mobile Task Force Psi 29 29,029, also known as Alpine Echo, shall remain on standby at all times to the Foundation monitoring station in Redacted. During tours of duty, all members of the MTF shall remain at all times in a pressured environment, acclimatized to 7,900 meters above sea level. In the event that a reoccurrence of Incident 1529-1 occurs, Alpine Echo shall be deployed to the mountain by helicopter and attempt procedure Bokrev. Description: 1529 is a humanoid individual residing near the summit of Mount Everest in Nepal, above the 18,000 meter death zone mark where human acclimatization is believed to be impossible. 1529 appears to be of average height and weight and is dressed head to toe in what resembles standard mountaineering wear and boots colored white. 1529's face is entirely obscured by the hood and its paraka and what appears to be an oversized pair of opaque black mountain goggles. 1529 has never been observed to wear any other clothes, as very few living people have observed 1529 except through a telescope. It is not known whether its coverings are clothes or part of its body, or what it might look like underneath, except as per interview 1529-1, which unfortunately, you guys, I'm not going to be able to read because this is a very, very long interview log. So if you want to go check that out, go check on the SCP website. The Foundation became aware of 1529 in the 1970s when annual expeditions to the summit of Mount Everest became commonplace and rumors began to circulate in the mountaineering community about a monster near the summit. Photographs found undeveloped in George Mallory's camera after the discovery of his remains in 1999 indicate that 1529 was present and active by the time of his attempt on the summit, and was not significantly different in appearance than it is today. Foundation media assets have reported that Mallory's camera was never found and that his death was due to a result of a fall. During periods when daylight is sufficient and cloud cover allows for surveillance on the mountain, 1529 is on average observable redacted % of the time for redacted of that time. 1529 is inactive and lies or sits motionless. Recorded periods of inactivity extended from 17 minutes to possibly 8 months. Median periods of inactivity is 23.4 days when active. At 1529 can be observed to climb about the upper reaches of the mountain and summit in no discernible direction. 1529 has never been observed to use any tools when climbing aids other than its hands or feet, and while traveling along established climbing routes will ignore the existence of guide ropes or ladders that have been installed by previous climbers. 1529 has demonstrated an ability to climb or descend sections of the mountain's face believed impassable to conventional mountaineers, has been observed to fall or lose its grip, and seemingly unencumbered by sub-zero temperatures, high winds, thin air, or a low atmospheric pressure. The cause of its becoming active or inactive is unknown and shows no correlation to weather, time of day, traffic up the mountain, season, or time of year. 1529 has never been observed to descend below the 8,000 meter mark, except per incident 1529-1. Documented periods of inactivity have extended from 3 hours to possibly 6 days. Median documented period of 15.2 hours. Nighttime observation of 1529 has thus far proved impossible. Infrared imaging has shown no difference in temperature between 1529 and its surrounding mountainside. If human climbers ascend past 8,000 meter mark while 1529 is active, it will attempt to make its way towards them and interpose itself between them and the summit or camp. 1529 appears to prefer its targets solo climbers or climbers that have significantly ahead of or behind the rest of the group. It will target individuals within a group if such opportunity does not present itself. Once 1529 is within eyesight of the traveler, it'll attempt to gain his or her attention and cause the traveler to make eye contact with it, which induces a hypnotic effect in the victim. The victim finds it very difficult to break eye contact with 1529 and will begin to feel very warm and comfortable and enticed to sit down and relax. Once the climber has stopped moving, 1529 will close range with the climber and data expunged. Death from hypothermia appears to occur within 1 to 2 hours of making eye contact with 1529, which more quickly is typical for climbers stuck near the summit. After death, 1529's victims experience an extremely accelerated state of decay. After several hours or days, bodies have become rotted and mummified in levels comparable to bodies that have lain exposure on the mountain for several decades. Of the approximate 220 people who have died on the high altitudes of Everest since 1924, 1529 is believed to have counted for at least redacted. Redacted people have survived encounters with 1529, almost all except per interview 1529-1, due to another mountaineer assisting the victim before 1529 made physical contact. 1529 does not appear to be capable of entrancing more than one climber at a time. However, physical encounters between 1529 and more than one person have noted to lead to data expunged. Purpose and motivation for 1529's behavior is unknown. See interview 1529-1 for speculation. Incident 1529-1 on redacted. SCP-1529 entered Camp 5 on the northern approach at 7,775 meters and data expunged. Casualties occurred before Foundation personnel operating at Camp 5 monitoring posts. Foundation assets in the media attributed to the deaths to a sudden storm and poor planning on part of the expedition coordinator, redacted, who was among the deceased. 1529 had not yet been under observation at the time due to it having entered active phase sometime during that night and had not yet been located on telescope. To date, this is the first and only documented instance of 1529 traveling below the 8,000 meter mark or entering any camp while uninhabited. Incident 1529-2 on redacted, Agent Redacted in the permanent facility in China engaged in telescopic surveillance of 1529 while it was active near the summit of the mountain. Redacted reported that 1529 was facing in the direction of the base, looking directly in the direction of the telescope. Redacted immediately reported symptoms consistent with a 1529 encounter and reported that 1529 had begun descending the mountain in the direction of the permanent facility. Redacted was unable to pull himself away from the telescope and had to be manually restrained and sedated for 17 minutes after a beginning of an encounter, whereupon he was rushed to facility sickbay and found to have a core body temperature of 27 degrees Celsius and signs of frostbite in his fingertips and toes, despite having remained indoors at a room temperature of 24 degrees Celsius for the duration of the encounter. Agent Redacted, who attempted to resume surveillance after Redacted's illness, found 1529 still descended the mountain and encountered similar symptoms. Telescopic surveillance was discontinued until Redacted, when aerial surveillance confirmed that 1529 had ceased to descend and entered an inactive site. And there's the interview log, but like I said, you guys are going to have to check that out for yourself because it is a long one. All I'm going to say is, look at the eyes. Look at them.
Yeah, that is somebody I would not want to touch or
Norm-
go by at
normal
all.
mountaineering with piercing orange. The one thing that during the log I will tell you about is that 1529 has been observed with the piercing orange eyes we see in this picture. It is an interesting anomaly.
On the SCP site, there's a different photo of one of the victims.
That seems about right.
It
Any,
for all the people who are just listening, it's a
any telescopic pictures?
no, that was the only picture. It says a body of a hiker encountered by SCP-1529 on that northern ridge in 19 redacted. Photos taken 17 hours after contact, and it's a person laying back.
Completely flat, frozen solid, and like it said, looked like it was frozen for the past several decades.
Yeah, and their left hand is sticking up in somewhat like a fisting, and like a fist, and they're like, yeah, pretty much frozen. Full of snow.
I will say, this anomaly is interesting.
It is.
Especially considering that it hadn't crossed that 8,000 meter mark until incident 1529-1. I was like, even in incident 1521-2, it still didn't go past that mark.
It's like the infinite staircase. Where it didn't flip around until you passed a certain point, where it tried to push you down instead of push you up.
If you're talking about like SCP-087-1, that creepy freaking face, that would either make him want to go up or down. It's somewhat. But again, that one, I don't think that one's hypnotic links or telepathic commands or anything.
It's just
hypnotic commands, telepathic links. That seems more this guy.
Yeah.
The other one, I'm guessing, is just mental fear itself. Or should I say it causes increased fear in its victims.
Yeah. So, this is one of the dudes who I would not want to ever touch or go by.
And now I have 2 reasons for never wanting to climb
Everest.
I have 2 reasons why I would never climb Everest. 1, I am not built for the cold, and 2, I do not want to deal with 1529.
And now, Everest is actually full of people now. It's not like it's all just regular now. There's a bunch of junk and all that stuff up there. And
thankfully, we have coordinators that are SCP agents that will help these people avoid 1529. And we have Mobile Task Force Psi 29029 in order to combat certain use procedure Brockavir. I don't know how to pronounce that.
That sounds correct.
Because and it's funny because I've heard of some kind of procedures like this, like 220 Montauk. That's for SCP. It was 7 pregnant women that gave birth to some of the anomalies we have today, like the Heart of Darkness, 682, the Tickle Monster. Procedure 220 Montauk is what they use to keep SCP, I can't remember, -7 from giving birth, otherwise we'd all die. It's like, just look up SCP-7 pregnant women and we'll get the right number. Numbers are useful, but only to a certain extent.
SCP-231.
Oh yeah, SCP-231, right.
And there were 7 of them, while 6 died.
Well, yeah, 6 died after they gave birth.
Yep.
One of which was actually 682, the other one was 057, which is the Heart of Darkness. One of them was actually 999, the Tickle Monster, which is interesting considering everything else that these girls have given birth to are completely and utterly disdain humanity and want to kill everything they see.
Yeah.
And then there was Procedure 220 Calabasas, which is used with SCP-2317, which is a door to another world, which I guarantee, I'm pretty sure that actually is in one of these. So we'll get to that one eventually, don't worry.
Yeah.
I don't think 231 is in this one, but once we get through all the anomalies we have stored for us right now, we will get to that.
Yep.
Anyway, I think that pretty much wraps it up for SCP 20... Sorry. Ugh, pages, I swear. I guess that wraps it up for SCP-1529, the King of the Mountain. And we will see you guys on the next one.